Welcome to Remember Your Source. I'm Julie Deline, and I'm delighted to have Emily Jarrett-Hughes here as my guest. And we're going to have a nice dynamic dialogue using the game, Your Wise Move, to talk about how we both remember Source. And I'm particularly delighted to have Emily because we share our love for nature, our love for movement, our love for Eastern wisdom. And we've both synthesized this in our own work, and you founded Wisdom Dances. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you. I'm so happy to play with you.
Yeah, and we had played the game together a number of times in remembering our source energy and staying aligned to our work, because we're both in these very pioneering fields and ways of bringing forth support and change to our world. So you want to just tell a little bit about Wisdom Dances?
What I like to say is that I'm trying to help us find its source for deeper transformation, if it's personal healing or collective level healing. And I'm teach embodied spiritual practices that really support that inner transformation that all of the outer transformation can be built.
You know, I've been talking about it as embodied leadership for a while because I really like that term of embodiment. But that it's a mindfulness practice. It's how to stay connected to yourself in the midst of change. And so that's why we're talking about Remember Your Source.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah.
So remembering the source for me means both remembering the divine source that we come from, but also the literal water, the spring, like the source, which is more like a French term, I think, for a spring, that is kind of a way in this world, in this natural world, for me also to remember the source. So that is why I especially tune into water in my work, as a way of remembering the source in everything that we're doing.
Absolutely. It's the connective agent. I love it as well. And that's one of the elements in the game. So with that, let's just start a dynamic dialogue. I'm going to pick a card for us related to how you remember your source, how we remember our source. And first aspect is to identify where we're at. So what thought right now is not supportive to you, and how does this limit you?
I would say for me, the thought I was watching this morning was I'm overloaded, overwhelmed. There's just so much happening. And as I was sitting in my meditation, I felt like what I don't like about that voice is that, like, right now, both my daughter and my partner, they have colds, or my friend, she's recovering from surgery. And it's almost like my heart doesn't even have bandwidth to be present to their suffering. And I just feel like, what's wrong with that?
I totally get it. Yeah.
So, there's like a big stream of things I'm inspired to do and that are happening around us, but it's somehow, there's some belief that sort of is also taking me away from being present in the midst of that I've just this morning reflecting on how that's not helping me when
Absolutely.
I approach it all with that attitude.
That's what I like to talk about, is kind of that purging that we first do to acknowledge, you know, what are we thinking about? Where are our thoughts? Where's our head? Where's our emotions? Where's our heart? You know, getting into all that as a point of connection to source energy. So I sit down regularly and say, where am I at? You know, what am I thinking right now? And questioning my thoughts. So that's a really good start. And thank you for sharing that piece. So then what we do is we open up into, you know, our higher self, our wisdom, our water. So this card is look around the room for an item or picture or furniture that draws your attention. And how does that stimulate ideas? Because our space is a reflection of who we are.
Well, I really like seeing my cat sitting in a nice wicker chair over here. I'm on my porch right now, and there's a little bit of sun shining on her, and she's just resting. So I'm enjoying that sunny chair on the porch, and that just feels like, oh, it'd be kind of nice to just hang out in that chair and be in the not working frame of view. That's the chair where it's like, oh yeah, I'm just available for whatever's happening.
That's really nice. So that's the question. What ideas does this stimulate for you?
But I think it's also resting in the sun, just
Yes.
letting yourself be warmed by
Yes.
that sun. So this is another way of talking about source, like sort of,
Absolutely.
oh, now that feels like a kind of way to be like a solar panel and be charged up by source.
I love it.
Yeah, I really do visualize as the sun a source. So it's not just like, oh, it'd be good to like kind of like, oh, this achy part of my body would feel so good in the sun. But it's also actually when I do that physical practice of like feeling really soaking in the sun on my body, I'm kind of also creating a body memory that I can draw on when I'm also feeling how good it is to um, bask in source, which I do imagine as like a sun radiating out from the center of the universe. So I do sometimes have to translate. Like I look at that and I think like, sitting a sunbeam, that looks so relaxing and good. But that's sometimes a translation for my heart is thirsty to be spending even more time facing source and that warmth.
Excellent. Yes, excellent. I love it. It's true. And how many times do we pause to do that in a day? And the point that I think that we're both talking about is taking time to absorb the sun makes us even more productive and aligned. This card is in alignment with, again, who we are as movement people. And this is about standing or putting yourself in a powerful position, standing in a certain way where you feel connected. I know as a dancer, as a ballroom dancer, the very essence of movement, where I open up and I put my shoulders back and I stand more erect, everything opens up. If I'm looking down, I am looking down and I don't see the bigger picture. So just looking slightly up, getting my head, my chin up, and all that puts us into a stronger position. So describe how that works for you.
So I'll think about my dancing. Okay, basic posture that we're doing when we're dancing is like this.
Yeah.
It's taking up space. And there's such cool research about how standing in these postures that take up space. So that researcher called them power posing. My teacher like kind of reframed it as postures of power, but that literally changes your hormone level and makes you more resilient to stressful situations. So this is essentially the posture I am in the whole time that I'm practicing the traditional dances that I practice. That's just one way where this it just feels so amazingly wonderful to dance for me. My most powerful tool for rebalancing myself if I'm really caught in my head, and I use this a lot even as a cancer survivor. So I'd be in the oncology clinic waiting for my oncologist to come back with the plan. Like, so this is always the worst part, is when you don't even know what the plan is going to be. And just dancing around in that room, sometimes by myself, often with my partner, because I would get over my incredible anxiety in that situation. That was like the only time, my only way to override that level of anxiety. Or I would sometimes dance around my IV pole. And it's probably because I have this tremendous body memory that comes from dancing in this way with a group of people. So I come back to this posture, and it's a channel that's open. I know how to let this energy come through. And I've experienced the same thing with Qigong. There's movements like this too, where we practice feeling this way that we're so grounded and coming into the earth. And when I'm feeling ungrounded, I have that body memory that I can pull on and come back to. And that's been really helpful, because otherwise it's like to say, oh, you're anxious, maybe you want to feel peaceful. It's like, well, how on earth am I going to do that? It's like I need my body to really help me with that.
I love talking about the wisdom of the body, and incorporating it. There's so much in my work, my past work was so head oriented. And so when I found ballroom dance, it was a lifesaver for me because it brought me back, it embodied me. And I found that to be one of the strongest leadership and team development tools I had ever done, because it's so real time. It's right there in the moment. You can see when it's working. You can see when it's not. You can see when you're engaging. You can feel when you're powerful. You can feel when you're not present. You can feel when you're pushing forward. I do this a lot with leaders and teams. And just yesterday, I was with somebody where she was moving forward, bent, like pushing and forcing her agenda in the direction of where she wanted to go. And she noticed that, and she realized that she was pushing something and not engaging, which was a huge learning, because once you get it in your body, you get it in a new way.
Yeah, I'm really learning that right now. I'm practicing a lot of kind of spontaneous or improvised movement as a way to like really listen to what is emerging in my body right now.
Yeah.
How is the energy flowing in my body right now? And it is making all the difference in the world for me to then kind of then I finish that and I come to my desk. What do I need to do right now? What's emerging in my work right now? And I'm much more able to slow down and just follow what's my necessary next step, because I have been practicing it in my body.
I think it's fun to play with your walks too, and learn how you're walking and how you're engaging people. So this next card is related to that. How do we engage? How do we move source energy forward? And that's, yes, sharing our vision, sharing our goals with other people. How does that look when we share it? And who do we like to share our vision and goals with? The point related to this is be mindful of how you're moving your vision forward. So how about you? Who do you share your vision and goals with, and comes to mind?
I rely very much on my spouse and on people who are walking kind of closely with me as friends and as colleagues. Yeah, I rely on them a lot to understand what I'm trying to carry, and it means so much to me when I encounter someone who sees what I'm trying to do and in all of it and cheers me on.
Yeah,
a lot. I share it in a bunch of different ways, because it's even what I have to offer is, it's like I blog regularly about my ideas, but I feel like I also share my vision a lot by embodying it and inhabiting it for other people to see. That I embody a possibility for a group. Like when I'm leading a dance circle, I share a lot of the vision by inhabiting it as much as possible. And I realize this is, I think, maybe very similar to like creating prototypes and microcosms that then you can pilot out, is that I've lucked out that I have found just enough people to understand and carry my vision with me. And we have been able to create a microcosm, and it's complex because it's not just learning dances, but learning music and creating costumes. And but now we have this whole microcosm. Now you can see it, so.
So with that, I'd like to pause, and I want to welcome you back. It was great to talk with you on this topic that we share. It's wonderful to be with you.
I love any excuse to play the game with you. It's always a fun conversation.